Good morning, everyone. It's time to go on the record.
It's one thing to stand in a corner and shout insults at your opponents. It's quite another to climb into the arena and fight for common ground.
In a time of political incivility, Governor Charlie Baker presents a reasoned, bipartisan voice to Beacon Hill. Will Democrats embrace this message and the budget debate? And speaking of governorship, Democrat Seti Warren is poised to challenge Charlie Baker. The four-term Newton mayor is our guest this morning.
When you look at the people that are registered, dead, illegal, and 2 states, and some cases maybe 3 states, we have a lot to look into.
Head shaking as President Trump digs in on disproven voter fraud, Syrian refugee bans, and waterboarding. So much to discuss. Let's go on the record.
From WCPB Boston, the inside word from Washington to Beacon Hill. Today's newsmakers are going on the record.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Ed Harding, along with News Center 5's political reporter Janet Wu. Thank you for joining us this morning. Our guest this morning is a Democrat considering a run against Governor Charlie Baker, Seti Warren. He's been the mayor of Newton since 2010. He's also a former candidate for U.S. Senate in Massachusetts. The mayor has worked for Senator John Kerry and served in Iraq as a naval intelligence officer. Seti Warren is a graduate of Boston College and Suffolk University Law School. As a fellow Newtonian, thank you for joining me and us this morning. The question is considering. Can we take the word considering out of there?
It's still considering.
Still considering?
Still considering.
This is a yes/no show, Mayor. Are you running for mayor or not?
Look, I'm looking at
governor.
I'm looking at this really seriously. I've public service in my family. It's why I enlisted in the Navy right after 9/11. It's why I ran for mayor. I think we have serious challenges in Massachusetts. We have income inequality, economic inequality. I want to make sure that we're bold and we're visionary and we address the needs of every citizen in the state.
But why the governor's race? Why are you looking at that specifically? You're sort of looking for a fight with an incumbent that's got a approval rating that's close to 60%.
Look, at this point, look at the unemployment rate. It's at 2.8% right now. Economic growth, engines happening, but yet we have a budget crisis. And yet people are asking, can I live in a state where I can't make a middle-class wage? Can I afford housing in this state? Can I afford a decent education that's top-notch? When we look at this budget process, one of the things I called for based on mass budget is that the budget process be transparent. We stop these one-time expenditures, and we ensure that we are investing in areas that matter, and we're using
with all due respect,
and we're making real decisions.
You talk about the one-time expenditures.
Right.
With all due respect, the Democrats have been probably just as egregious as the Republican governors have been. When Deval Patrick left office, there was one-time expenditures of over $1 billion. The current governor, Charlie Baker, has managed to get it down to around $100 million. He's made enormous progress. How can you argue with his performance on this particular matter?
This is a Beacon Hill issue. This is a nonpartisan issue. Democrats and Republicans on Beacon Hill continue not to be transparent with the budget. Democrats, on the one hand, don't want to tell the truth, and some of them don't have the courage to say we need to raise revenue. Republicans are afraid to take the heat for all the cuts that are being made. And so we continue this dance where we're not being honest with what actually needs to happen.
I would sort of argue with you on that one as well. I mean, I've been covering the State House for quite a while. Yeah. If you want to know exactly what the set expenditures are, where the money is going, the information is there. There are many groups that are on the outside watching. The information is available if you are interested as a regular voter. It's not as if this information is hidden.
Well, I think one of the things we need to do also is tell the truth about what it takes to maintain these programs and invest so that people have great outcomes. In Newton, I inherited a $40 million projected deficit when I came in, zero rainy day fund. And buildings that were falling apart, our school children had overcrowded classrooms. We weren't dealing with the achievement gap. In 8 years as mayor, we eliminated that structural deficit of $40 million. We have 2 AAA bond ratings. We put $20 million away for a rainy day fund that didn't exist. And we're building 5 schools in the next 5 years, and we're reducing the achievement gap with teachers right now. We went out and asked our citizens for more money to do that. We need to have the same transparency. And by the way, I did almost 30, 40 town halls along the way. We need to have the same transparency that cities and towns do, including mine, to address the issues that matter on the ground in the Commonwealth.
And speaking of Newton, isn't it fair to say that you've done that, and you've been a 4-term mayor, as I said, but 18 months into a 2-term mayor, 8 years, 2 4-year terms.
Right.
Is it fair to say your constituents in Newton were not happy with you when in 18 months you were running for the United States Senate.
Yes.
That's fair to say, right?
Yes, it is fair to say.
So given that, how do you convince voters now that you really want to be governor and you're not just climbing a political ladder?
Well, look, first of all, I did hear from my constituents. I thought Scott Brown needed to be beaten. I'm glad my cousin Elizabeth came in and did it. And it was a little too early, and I respect that, and I know that now, and I learned a lot. I'm coming towards the end of my 8th year as mayor. We've done great things. I feel so passionate about public service, and I believe that we can be better here in this Commonwealth. We can't nibble around the edges right now. We've got to make sure we're making the tough decisions that matter. When I hear from people around the state of Massachusetts, they're asking these questions about how we can be less economically insecure, and the next generation, for kids, our young people, can afford things like college, can afford things like daycare. They're concerned about the minimum wage. They're concerned, asking questions about family leave policy. We've got to be honest and direct with our residents here in the state of Massachusetts and make the decisions for people.
Has Donald Trump at all influenced you to look ahead, to look down the road, to run?
Well, certainly Donald Trump is of grave concern to me as a mayor, as a parent. I've got 2 kids, a daughter who's 8 years old and a son who's 5. When I think about their future, I want to make sure they are living in a safe, inclusive community and that they have the same benefits that I have. Every generation has a responsibility, like my parents did. They were a part of the civil rights movement, and they fought hard to get into a place like Newton. Every generation has an opportunity and responsibility to do the same for the next, and I feel that right now.
You just listed your accomplishments as mayor, and part of the reason why you've been able to get these things done is because you convinced voters to pass 3 different tax questions, and it raised over $11 million additional dollars in Newton. Do you intend to fight for higher taxes if you become governor, if you run for governor and you become governor?
Look, I've said already, in addition to be transparent and honest with the budget, we've got to get more revenue into state coffers. I believe in the millionaire's tax, for example. We have to be honest and say we've lost $2 to $3 billion over the course of 16 or 17 years because of the way our tax structure has been put in place and tax cuts have been made place. We have to be direct with people about what needs to happen.
And do you agree with the
And we have to be accountable with the money.
And do you agree with Governor Baker's latest proposal to force employers of more than 10 workers to be fined if they don't provide adequate health care? Is that a good idea? Is that a good way of bringing income into the state?
Well, look, I'm glad that the governor's been flexible about looking at revenue, but before I answer that question, I want to review this budget in totality. I want it to be transparent. I want to make sure that in the course of the next 4 or 5 months, we know exactly where those dollars are going to be and whether they're going to maintain programs. This is what Mass Budget called for. The programs that we have in place around education, kids in the classroom, human services. We just had a 9C cut. We have a raging opioid epidemic here in the state of Massachusetts. There's a 9C cut around funding for treatment down in the Cape just recently. So let's be open and transparent about what it's going to take to ensure our people are healthy and safe and all the rest.
But you're still uncertain as to whether you won't weigh in on whether Governor Baker is
moving
in the right direction on this health insurance
On the health
tax.
insurance, I will.
Okay.
I want to really dig into this budget, but we've got to be honest with people about what it's going to take to meet people's needs.
Are you ready to dig into the OTR pop quiz?
Never.
Oh, come on now, Mr. Mayor.
I can't do any worse than I did last time.
He was complaining about it.
Establishing the floor, right? All right. Question 1. What is the state's gas tax?
Do I get choices on this?
No. What is the
Okay.
state's gas tax?
It's kind of a famous question. I'll give that to you.
No, I recall. There was a famous, what is it?
We're not going to spend a quarter of our time on this. I can't do that. It's 24 cents.
Okay.
It's higher than 52% of the other states, by the way. In his State of the Commonwealth speech, Governor Baker noted his administration's efforts on homelessness. He says the 1,500 homeless families in hotels and motels have been greatly reduced. How many people does the governor say are still being housed in motels? And again, the number was 1,500, and the governor in his speech the other day said it's now...
I think he said it was it 100?
That's it, fewer than 100 families. We continue. You're already better than last
Oh, there we go. I'm making progress.
We continue with the Mayor Newton. Stay with us.